Tres. Buenas noches. Good night, everyone. How are you? My name is Andres Medellin. I will be your host for today, and we're going to be talking about judgment or judging people. With me, you have my dear friend Juan Barrera.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello,
Juan.
everyone.
And my cousin Nathalia Suarez.
Hi.
Hi, Nata. So they're joining us from different parts of the world. I am in Miami right now. Juan is in LA and Natalia is in Bogota, Colombia. So thank you so much for joining this discussion tonight. And pretty much, I'm going to ask you guys questions. I'll give you guys time to respond to the questions, and then we'll have open discussion after each reply. All right. Each of us will have a timer. We have a lot more time than I anticipated for, so just try not to go over too much. All right. So here we go. Um, so the subject is judgment or judging, and I have three questions to ask you. So please keep in mind that these three questions will apply for every scenario that I discuss with you. So the first question is, how do you think people will react to this situation? And here come the situations, okay? Um, so the first situation or the first scenario is there is a man that's a very important entrepreneur. He's a CEO of a big company, and he's driving to a very important meeting. Uh, One of his employees keeps texting him because they're having technical difficulties. And he tries to ignore the text as much as he can, but finally he realizes it's urgent and he looks at the text for a moment to reply to him and he crashes into another car. There is no serious injuries. So that's the first scenario. So hold off your questions for later. The second scenario is there is a woman that goes to the store with her little boy. The little boy sees a toy that he really likes and he asks his mom to buy it for him. The mom says no, she's not going to buy it for him. And the little boy starts screaming and kicking and throwing a fit, right? So the mother grabs her boy and she spanks him in public. That's the second scenario. All right. The third scenario, and this is the last scenario, is there is a man cutting the grass of his house. And I don't know if you're aware of the devices that are used to cut grass, but he's using a trimmer. So he's using one of those that have the little line, the little cable that spins around. Okay. And it's a pretty old, it's a pretty old cutter, grass cutter. So he's cutting the grass and he's minding his own business, cutting the grass, and all of a sudden he turns around and he cuts his dog because he doesn't see the dog. The dog was on the way, he turned around too fast and he injured the dog. All right, so that's the third scenario. So now I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes each, or I'll try to give you guys 2 minutes each to answer the question of how do you think people will react to this situation? And please don't limit yourself. When I say people, I mean any and all kinds of people. All right. So let's start one now. Go.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, the CEO crashing his car. Um, I think people are not gonna let him get off easy. He's a big name person, right? So whether he's a good CEO or a good up or a bad person, he's a big name. So anything they do is scrutinized under, I don't know, a bigger lens or something. So as far as how people would react to his situation, they will, and people as is are not big fans of CEOs at the moment, I don't think. So they're not gonna let him go easy. They are gonna judge him, especially because he knows he has a spotlight on him, so he should be careful. He should, you're not supposed to text and drive, but he did it anyway. So he will be judged. I don't know how. I mean, it's too broad to say a certain group of people will judge him this way or not. But as far as the public goes, he's not gonna get off easy. I don't think.
All
I
right.
mean, in the end, who
Go to
cares?
the
He
other two
probably has.
scenarios. Juan, go to the other two scenarios because it's rapid fire.
So just the first question for all the other. Okay, so then,
The other ones, and don't worry, we're gonna have open discussion for each. More time.
okay, the other one is the lady hitting somebody her kid in a store.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she's also gonna get pretty much judgment. Um, maybe that's, hitting your kid is very antiquated,
Mm-hmm.
and some people agree with it, some don't. But um, I'm assuming this goes online, right? And people see it online, maybe, because like if it's people at the store, um, anyone who sees that, they're gonna judge her. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
whether the kid is right or wrong, I don't think you do that. Um,
mm-hmm.
so she will get some harsh treatment. The other thing, it seems like it's just an accident to
Mm,
mow your lawn and injure your dog. I don't think. I mean, some people will judge that person. I don't think many people will, unless they know what happened. If somebody's judging that person, they probably think that it was done on purpose.
mm.
But to judge somebody on an accident like that, I think it's pretty, and that doesn't make a lot of sense in my opinion.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Juan. Sorry for interrupting you. We're just trying to keep the answers short,
Yeah, yeah,
rapid
it's
fire,
okay.
and we'll have open discussion. And
Yeah,
thank you for the questions. We'll answer them during the open discussion. All right. Nata, you ready?
Mm,
Go.
yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with Juan. There's a difference between making decisions that only affect you and then making decisions that will potentially affect other people. Texting and driving is one of those that will affect other people because you could potentially kill someone. So, of course, there will be scrutiny. Um, for a CEO, it may have more exposure, I guess, but like for anyone, it could be like, of course, everyone would judge. Um, when it comes to the kid and like a mom is spanking a kid, well, I'm from Colombia, so that's super usual. So
mhm.
I'm pretty sure no one would judge. Actually, probably people would judge the mom because the kid is being a brat. So it's like, what the hell is going on with her? Um, so probably that would happen in general. And when it comes to the man that hurt his dog, I don't think anyone would judge him unless the thing he's using to do the grass is like illegal. But otherwise, I mean, it's a mistake, and I'm pretty sure he didn't want to hurt his dog. So yeah,
Cool.
that's my answer.
That was super fast.
Yeah.
Straight to the point. Thank you so much. So, for the most part, the two of you agree. So now we're gonna go to open discussion, and we have 3 minutes for open discussion um, for each question. Okay, so we go to open discussion starting now. Now is the time to ask questions. So, any questions about any of the scenarios in particular? For example, Juan asked, or he said, "Oh, I am sure that somebody's gonna record the mom spanking her son." What do you guys think about that? Does recording a mom spanking her kid make her more guilty of doing the action, or it just gives her more exposure? What do you think about that?
Well, if she's getting recorded, it means whoever's recording her thinks, something's wrong here, and people need to see it. Um, so that's itself a form of judgment, I think, to just go up and record somebody.
Mm,
It's like, oh, look what this person is doing. Um, but I mean, I don't know, that's an interesting scenario because I mean, I don't think you should, if you see the thing with being recorded or anything online is that you don't really get the full picture. Um, so if you see a video of this kid getting hit by her mom at the store, it's really easy to come to conclusions. Um, I don't think there's any personally. I don't think there's any uh, scenario where it was justified to hit the kid, especially in public. I don't think,
mm,
um, because like we said, it's pretty antiquated. Um, I think there's better ways to reprimand your kid than to let it get to that point. So, but we're talking about judgment here, so I think that mom is getting judged for sure,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, definitely. Um, but I think what I want to the point I want to get across with judgment in general, not just these three things, is that I think people should ask why. That's a simple question to ask. It's like if you see something you don't like, or somebody do something you don't like, uh, before we judge, I mean, everyone's gonna judge one way or another, but before you jump to conclusions, I think you should ask why. What brought that person to that point? Why are they doing this? Like,
I want to stop you there because that's the second question that I would ask. So
okay,
let's try to stick to the question at hand, the reactions of people. So
reactions, yeah.
I want to kind of like bring it more towards that question. What do you think about these people? So you guys told me what you thought people would think, what how you thought people will react. So tell me more about these people that reacted to these situations. Where were they from? How old were they? What cultural background did they have? Or what was in your head when you gave me these answers? When you shared these observations with me?
So
Were
we're
people that
we're
were
thinking about the people that are judging these people.
exactly. So the replies that you gave me, where did you come out with these replies? Is it based on your own experience or your own culture? Is it based on just like your general observation of the world?
Just general. I think. I mean, it's a weird question because who in these scenarios we have to kind of like come up with like a set of people that are watching this happen or
Mhm.
something. So I think, for example, for the whole CEO thing, I think that would be what came to mind is like the American public,
Mm,
or I guess I don't know, public in general.
good, yeah. Okay.
Um, so
But the American
but
is good in my opinion because Americans put a lot of emphasis on big CEO names, like
yeah.
if
Um,
if
so I think, I mean, as far as the American people go, well, you're gonna get people that are gonna, say, who cares? He's a CEO. He can do what he wants, which is dumb, I think. But you're also gonna get a lot of people that don't like people texting and driving. Period. People that probably have lost somebody because of that, and to see somebody do that, especially somebody in power, uh, they're gonna get judged by a certain group of people. But it's hard to say like how do I think certain people would react?
Okay.
So
But that's good.
hard
You
to
said
say.
that on the first scenario, you thought more of the American people, and Natalia said on the scenario of the mom and the child, she thought more towards like the Colombian uh,
Yeah.
um, culture per se. What about the man with the lawnmower? Or
No,
not?
that's
Nata, if you have anything else to say about the other scenarios, feel free to share it.
no. I just think that when it comes to the law, it's pretty clear. So it's easy to judge because the law judges you by your
Hmm.
actions. So
Mm,
so in terms of like in when it comes to the CEO, for me, it's super clear. I mean, there will be maybe people that would say, "Oh yeah, he's a CEO, whatever," but like the law is a law, so there's nothing to, in my opinion. I mean, this just like that. With the mom, I would never. I mean, unless there's actual abuse, I don't think. I mean, people could judge. Everyone judges, especially if you're a mom. So I would just think that it's not nice to, it's not correct. I mean, it's not the good thing to do to like interfere or even judge or even record. Recording someone without their permission is actually illegal. And it could put them in a lot of trouble and danger. So um, I just think that's bad. And in the terms, when it comes to like the guy with the lawnmower, I mean, I don't think people would judge for a mistake like that, unless, as I told you, that thing would be like the machine is illegal, which I don't know if it's legal. I don't know. So
So
yeah,
in this context, for example, let's get one of the three scenarios, the easiest one in my opinion, which will be the lawnmower guy, right? Do you think maybe an 80-year-old person would judge them differently than maybe a teenager, and why? Let's hold on to that question because it overlaps with the second question that comes around, right? So we have the reactions of the people to the three scenarios, and that's great. So now the second question will be, why do you think they will react like that? Okay, and we're gonna start with Natalia this time. Nata, you have 2 minutes starting now. Go
with the lawnmower or with everything.
with the three. Yeah.
Okay, so with the CEO, as I told you, like it's the law and the law judges you, so everyone can do that too. Um, with the kid, I think it's really hard for people to put themselves in someone else's shoes. You don't know what's going on with that mom. You don't know what's going on with that kid. I mean, I personally, I am against that, but you know, you never know what's going on with that family. You know how they were raised. So, um, I don't know. People like to judge. People feel nice, like like judging and feeling like they are better persons, but people that other people. So I'm guessing that's why. Also, there's like a new way of treating children that's like super popular right now. So um, that's as Juan said, that's like really not the way to treat children. So I'm guessing, but I'm guessing a lot of people, as I told you, in Colombia, they would not judge. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, that kid is being a brat."
Yeah.
Then
So
other
I was gonna
people will be
say,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah,"
it
and then other
depends
people will be
who
like,
sees that.
"Oh, she's not a good mom. If she was a good mom, then he wouldn't be a brat, right?" So I mean, people like to feel superior, so it's fine. And in regards to the lawnmower thing, um, I do think an 80-year-old would judge the same as a teenager. It was a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. And I think that would be just tragic. It wouldn't be like, oh, he's such a bad guy. It's just tragic. So, yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Nata. Right, Juan? Ready now. Go.
So why people react this way is what
Yes.
we're trying to get at. Um, I don't know, but yeah, like Natalia said, I think people want to feel good.
Right.
So I think putting people down sometimes makes people feel good in a way.
Mm,
Like, oh, I would never do that. Why would you do that? So, um, yeah, it's hard to say why, but also, I mean, people, it's really easy to make a judgment and it doesn't cost you anything.
mhm,
And if for some shitty reason it makes you feel better, and people will probably do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, even though, like I said, you may not get the whole picture. Um, like I'm probably the first in line to judge that CEO
mm,
because it's a person that can handle it. Like he can handle the judgment and all that. Um, and he should have been doing that in the first place. Um, and it's the way I see it, it's like he can take the judgment. Um, his life is probably better than most people's lives, so you know you're in a position of power, of influence, so don't do that. In my opinion, it's easy to judge that person no matter how important the text might have been. I think that's irrelevant. um, but so why would someone judge a mom? Like, I don't know, that's different. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a mom, but it sounds like it's exhausting. So that mom could have been at the last string, and like that kid made a scene, and like she couldn't handle it anymore, and like hit the kid, which it's not okay, but like I would find it much harder to judge that person
mm.
than to judge the CEO who was stupid in a car.
Got it.
Um, so yeah, I think it depends on the situation. It depends on the person at the end of the judgment, right? But um, why do we judge? I think that's just human nature to judge people.
Also, just to make sure, you said spanking, right? Like she didn't like hit him against the wall. Okay.
No, 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 no greater
Like
abuse.
abuse.
Just a spank. All right. So now we have 3 minutes of open discussion. So I want to bring it back to the question again. The question was, so what is it? So why do you think that the people react like that? And I want to focus on what is it about these people in a specific, the people that you thought about, that makes them react like that. So a couple of things that the both of you said, where they don't have the whole picture. You both said that in different ways, but you said it. They don't have the whole picture, so they lack perspective. They might not know the whole story, right? You guys also said that people jump to conclusions. You also said that people want to bring other people down, because just to feel better, to bring themselves up, right? But where do all those connotations come from? Like, where do you think you guys understood those things? Was it from the way you were raised? Was it just from the condition of being human? Like one said, judging is human. So what do you think? So just to give you an example, for example, Natalia said that the law is the law. So it's very easy to judge something that is written down, texting while driving is illegal, bam, right? But it's a lot harder to judge, for example, the mom and spanking the child, right? Or it's a lot harder.
But because for me it was because there's a difference between what like the common good and like what you do to your children or how you raise them. So there's a clear difference for me. It's like it's not, and I would not give a demographic
As, yeah,
explanation of what I think people, I mean, who I think would think this way. I just think that when it comes to the law, it's easier. And when it comes to a mom, it's like it depends on your culture, it depends on the way you were raised, it depends on how you are as a person. So I could not say, oh, I think this is because of this. It's because I do know that there's different backgrounds for everyone. So, and you judge based on your background. So,
Yeah,
I
so background is a very good example in my opinion. So the background, you said you will not say demographics, but the background, the culture, the way people were raised, all those have a big influence of how we judge and how we perceive judgment from others.
yeah, I guess. But that doesn't, necessarily applies to one or a certain demographic. Even in Latin America, like I was never super spanked. I have friends that were spanked like with chanclas and like belts. I never had that. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It actually depends on it doesn't have, you know, I don't think it has
yeah,
to do with the,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would not
To
point out
generalize,
yeah,
not to
I would not.
generalize, of course. All right. Great. So now we'll go to the last question, last and final question, and then we'll have a final open discussion. And I know that we're jumping all over the place because judgment is a hard thing to judge,
judge.
for the lack of better words. But I think we're touching upon a lot of very interesting topics, and we'll get to talk more about them in the open discussion. So the last question is, do you think that the reaction was good or bad? And if you think the reaction was bad, what do you think we can do as a society to help that person react better? And what do you think that person could do to help themselves react better? Okay, Juan, you're gonna start on this one now.
Okay. So I don't really want to say whether the reaction was good or bad because we're talking about hypotheticals. Like
Mhm.
this person hypothetically reacted like this to, the CEO or whatever. Um, so uh, I will just say that in the end, everyone's gonna build an opinion on whatever happened. Um, and I think before someone jumps to conclusions and shames the other person, like I said earlier, ask why, what brought them to that situation in the first place. Um, Maybe that mom just had no other choice but to spank that kid that day and then go home because she's tried everything. The kid maybe has like developmental issues or something, and like maybe that was the only way to get that kid to like behave that day or something. And it's not like she's spanking the kid every day, but that just happened to be necessary that day or something. So before knowing the whole picture, it's probably good to find out first if you can. If not, just be quiet about it. you
Mhm.
know don't don't say anything. um but like I said, I have judged people before. Obviously, all of us have. um but with the CEO thing, I have less of a
Sympathy.
sympathy, I guess, because they are, like I said, they're privileged and he should know better. I don't think, maybe there's a text out there that could justify him having to read the text as he's driving because it was so important or whatever. um Maybe his wife had to go in labor or something happened and like he had to pick up the phone or something. So
Mm.
even that even that has some kind of caveat to it. But um I think in the end it's better to ask why, ask questions before jumping to conclusions.
Hey, great. Thank you, Juan. All right, Nata, it's your turn. Ready whenever.
I agree. I agree with Juan. I think that it will be, I mean, it's not easy for people to not judge. It's not easy to put yourself in another person's shoes. I think that the right thing to do would be to try to put yourself in other person's to choose. um and that's it. Like that's the only thing. Like you never know what's going on. Sometimes you think that someone did something because they're a jerk, and you actually don't know what's going on in their heads or what happened that day or what has happened in his or her life. So I would not say this is bad or this is good. When it comes to the law, as I told you, it's easy. It's just you should not do this. That's all I can say. But I can't say, oh, he's a jerk because he's privileged and this and that. I could not say that. I would just say, he broke the law. He shouldn't have. This could endanger people, and that's it.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go into open discussion then. So again, to point back to the question, um, do you think that the reaction was good or bad? And if you thought it was bad, what can we do to improve that reaction? And I think it's safe to say that both of you agreed that you cannot say if the reactions were good or bad, right? Unless they're breaking the law. If they're breaking the law, then it's very clear cut that they're gonna get a punishment because they made a bad decision according to the law, right? But if it's outside the law, then it's kind of like unwise to say that the decision that they made was good, the reaction that they had was good or bad, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what what if there was no judgment? So what if there was no law? What if there was no person to judge the mom spanking her child? What if there was no police to judge the guy texting? What if there was no neighbor judging the guy that injured the dog? What if there was no judgment? How do you think the world will be like?
No, I mean,
Mm,
it's basic, you know. I mean, if no one judges, then you can kill someone and no one would say anything.
yeah.
So, like, basic civil, dynamics, like, you know, just and it's super simple. Like your freedom comes, stops when it affects the freedom of someone else. So, and that applies to everything. The rest is like you do whatever you want with your life. It's fine, unless you know it's affecting other people. So if there wasn't any not judgment but like rules, because rules judge you,
Yeah.
then it would not be a society. There wouldn't be no society.
So how do
So
you think the three scenarios that we talked about will be different if there was no judgment? How do you think the reactions will be?
there will be no reactions because there's no judgment.
No reactions whatsoever. Just like,
Yeah.
that guy cried.
Yeah, I mean, a reaction is a judgment in itself, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think what you're trying to get at, like, there has to be some kind of judgment because, like, what Natalia said, like, people need to be put in jail for certain things, and that's somebody judging them, like, you broke the law, right? But I think what you're trying to say is like personal judgments, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
us thinking like, oh, that's such a bad person or whatever. That person shouldn't have done that. Like without that, it's hard to picture what like society would be like, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
I think that if, for example, in the CEO's case, if he got enough like heat about it on Twitter or whatever, like social media went crazy and he started trending and like all these things, and like, you know what, maybe he won't do that again. Maybe he'll take it more serious because his image depends on, has consequences and things. So I think in a way judging is good. um could be bad, obviously, because like we said, um we don't know the whole picture when things happen and all that. So I think in the end, without like personal judgments, overall would probably be better. Um,
When you say personal judgments, it's probably like judging the mom.
yeah,
Ah, all right.
yeah, or even judging this guy, but the CEO.
Got it.
Um,
No, but I think that judging in general, I mean, everything that we witness every day creates judgment on us. I think that the point is to understand where that judgment comes from and learn from it, right? So like, why am I feeling this way about this mom? Am I
yeah,
not seeing something? Am I not, it's about questioning yourself, I think, more than a social punishment, right?
yeah, like
So
yeah,
yeah,
trying to be better judges of people.
exactly. Like, you're not gonna be like, ooh, this person is bad. Maybe your first reaction would be like, ooh, I don't like this. But then instead of like saying anything, just studying why you're feeling this, addressing it, and then like learning from it. Like, should I be feeling this, or what can I learn from this situation, instead of just saying, she's a bad mom, or he's an asshole, or like whatever.
So self-reflecting before we even start thinking about judging others.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, I think I can definitely agree with that for sure. And I like what Natalia said, that your freedom stops when it affects other people, right? And I think it's a very clear cut difference between the guy texting and driving and the man that injures his dog by accident, right? Um, and I had another scenario that instead of the man injuring a dog when he's cutting the grass, he injures his daughter because he doesn't see her, right? And suddenly the whole picture changes, right? Because now it's not just a dog, now it's another human being. And what do you guys think about that? Do you think that would change people's judgment of the guy cutting the grass?
I think that would be even more tragic. Like, I would feel compassion for that guy instead of like actually thinking he's irresponsible or whatever. Like, who would want to do that to their kid? It's
Mm,
like
Ye-
the usual news, like a father running out, like the car, and a baby that he didn't see, like killing the baby. Like, I don't think that um I think that's more tragic and would generate more compassion than, oh, this guy, he's so irresponsible, now you kid your like, that wouldn't even be like a constructive or anything criticism. That would be destructive. Like, you killed or hurt your daughter. Like,
yeah.
nothing that you say will fix the situation. He can't take it back, so why would you even say anything?
But what about his own judgment? Like his own self judgment, right? So that comes from somewhere too. That comes from society or the way he was raised. So even though most people like us three will agree that that was a total accident, but he will live with that regret the rest of his life, right? So even though he might know deep down that it was an accident, he's still gonna judge himself so
Yourself,
hard.
yeah. Oh
Like if
yeah.
you think about the situation, me as a father, oof, that's just something I cannot even fathom. So
Yeah,
that
but that's like that's like, work you have to do on yourself, compassion, and like addressing the issue, and like, forgiving yourself and stuff.
mm, got it.
It's not really a self-judged based on society. It's because you love your daughter. So, and why would you hurt someone you love?
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so when I came up with this scenario, I was thinking, well, maybe different people would judge the man differently. Maybe some people would say, wait, why wasn't he paying attention to his surroundings? Maybe some people would say, well, uh, he looked kind of tired, or like maybe some people would say, "He's not good." But for the most part, I do think that most people would agree that it was an accident, and And you're right. You know, like that person uh, has to work. The person has to work on their own self-compassion, forgive themselves, and do more self-reflecting, so they can move on with their life, right? Because there is judgment from others, but there is also judgment from our own self, and we are our worst judges, right? And what I have found in life, just in my own life, is that based on how I was judged by other people, I tend to judge myself the same growing up. You know, so even now I find that to be true. And one thing I want to touch on before I let you guys go, and before we say any final conclusions, is talking about shame versus guilt. And I don't know if you guys have heard Brené Brown. She's a psychologist that talks about, you know, raising children and society in general. And there is a big difference between shame and guilt. And for example, the laws that we're talking about, no texting while driving, that falls more on the guilt section. Like you do something wrong that's against the law, you're guilty of that crime, and you have to pay the time, right? So it's a clear line between your actions, the consequences that you're gonna have to pay for them. And then there is the other side that's called shame. So in the shame mindset, you would think that the CEO is a horrible person for doing that, right? Instead of thinking they're guilty of texting and driving. So you go from like blaming the person for their action to giving an adjective to that person, to categorizing the person in a whole label, right? So the difference between guilt and shame is very powerful, in that guilt motivates people to be accountable for their actions. Meanwhile, shame just tends to bring people down, and tends to like bring down their self-esteem. It tends to do a lot of harm to people. So what do you guys think about that, and how that ties in with the subject of judgment?
I think that's true. I have a friend. She's you know, she's like an influencer, and she has written a few books. And she has this rule that's called the 3 minute rule, and it is, if you have something to say when it comes to judgment, but that thing that you're gonna say can't be changed in the next 3 minutes, then just don't say it. You know, like, why would you? So, so I'm guessing, yes, shaming is super bad. You should never do it. Um, it does bring you down, and it's unnecessary. So, yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Nata. Juan, what do you
Right.
think?
I think yeah, I think it's like Natalia said, the point is to shame somebody if in the end it can't grow, nothing grows out of that. Like if the person is still gonna be committing the same errors or whatever, um, then it's kind of pointless to shame people. Um, it's like like the opposite of constructive criticism, right? So I mean, what's the point? What's the point in that if the person can't be a better person afterwards from that? So I think it's I mean, I wasn't really sure about the differences between guilt and shame, but now that you say it, then you know it seems like shame has really no purpose anything of value in the end. It seems like if you shame somebody, it's more about yourself.
Mm.
Maybe you're trying to make yourself feel better by making others feel less around you. Um, so yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I think, let's try to give constructive criticism in the end. Because if you really care about like what the person did, then help them not make it again, not do it again, instead of just shaming them for the hell of it.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you guys would like to add? Feel free to do so. Otherwise, I will leave you all with one more question for you to think about. And that is, do you think that this world would be a better place if there was no shaming, um, or no personal judgments, as opposed to constructive criticism or guiding, um, people? And how do you think that we could improve the world, based on the discussion that we had today? How do you think we could take all these thoughts and apply them into our lives so that we could help people to feel more loved instead of judged? And I'm going to leave you with the quote that started it all. So if you don't know, I posted something on social media, and this is what sparked the idea to do this interview. And the quote goes like this: Judgment is the absence of love. Love is the absence of judgment, by Joseph P. Kaufman. And the quote comes from a book that he wrote, a book that I will read and let you guys know how it is. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for joining, Juan, Natalia.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thank you for your patience. I know I was not a great host, but I'm really happy that you guys took the time to do this. I hope that
Yeah,
we learn a little bit.
sure. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys. Have a good night.
Bye
you too.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.